My name is Faridah, and this is the Sinan Talk Show. Today we are talking about leadership. Trustees of the people. Are they trustees of the people to you? And we are really privileged to have Mr. Tony Lenart. He's a director at the Institute of Advanced Leadership, and I'm sure to many of you young leaders, he's not a new face. But what's so unique about this gentleman is that I met him and I was so amazed at his commitment to try to transform or train us in leadership and conflict resolution. He has been able to end 2 wars, by the way, and you will hear more about it. You're most welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
Tony, what is leadership to you?
Well, to me, leadership really is about being a servant, about seeing yourself as a trustee, seeing yourself as someone that can really create change, whether for a country, for a company, or in your own family. If you're a father or a mother, then you're also a leader. If you're in a part of a community, you're a leader. And if you're someone who has that passion to make a difference, to help other people, the willingness to put yourself in the shoes of other people so that then you can actually assist them. And you combine that with vision, with management skills, with the other elements, then you have a true leader that really makes a difference, that brings a country forward.
Tony, you've been able to end 2 wars in Africa. What's the secret of conflict resolution?
At this point, Tony answered that he may have helped end 2 wars, but that he certainly didn't end the wars all by himself. Faridah then suggested that Tony was just being humble. Unfortunately, this was edited out of the show that was broadcast.
First of all, I wouldn't say that's being humble. I mean, really, there are many people that are involved, but I feel that the work that we have done has made a difference. What we've done is that we teach conflict resolution and mediation. And so, for example, one of our students, who then became my deputy chairman, I was teaching him about mediation skills, about conflict resolution skills. Also developing the attitude and the approach of putting yourself in the shoes of other people, seeing things from their viewpoint so that you can work together and create a win-win.
So a leader must be a listener.
Absolutely. You need to listen, you need to understand, and that's what creates change. That's what creates influence. That's what has people go along with you. So by teaching people to put themselves in the shoes of others, by teaching people, not just telling them about the sort of attitudes that you need, but having them do processes where they really explore how they are. Then we were able, in that situation, also in Congo, working with the RCD Goma rebels that were controlling half of the country, we trained them on how to end the war. We trained them...
Amazing.
You know, the thing is, it was in their interest, and the head of the rebel group was actually keen on ending the war.
Actually, Tony has trained vice presidents, rebel leaders, rebels, corporate leaders. So what does it mean when we say that leaders are the trustees of the people?
Well, it's a bit like, think of a father or a mother. Okay, you're the head of the family, but your role is not to be someone that takes all of the wealth for yourself, that your role is to support the family, to look after the family. And so your interest then is in helping everyone to succeed. So if you're...
then you succeed.
Exactly, then you succeed, then you're fulfilled, then you're happy. I mean, it's really no fun to be, whether it's an employee, a manager, or a leader, who doesn't care. You know, if you don't care, you come to work and, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, oh, finally, I've got through the day. But if you're someone that really has a passion and compassion, that wants to make a difference in people's lives, then it's very rewarding. You feel fulfilled. And so the role of a leader then is a bit like a parent. I mean, if you're a parent and you have this beautiful, amazing house, and yet your children are living in a Bawempe thatched grass hut, you know, you're not going to feel very happy. If your children are sick, you do everything you can to help them. And maybe a relative gives you some money to assist. Well, you're not going to spend that money on getting yourself a Mercedes. You're going to spend that money making sure that your children have all of the medical treatment that they need. You're focused on their future.
So it is in the interest of leaders in every sphere to look at the people below them and how they are doing.
Yeah, and not even to see them as below, but to sit with them, to
work with them.
Yeah, you know, we look at some of the greatest leaders, Mahatma Gandhi, Jesus, Martin Luther King. They were with the people. You know, they didn't see themselves as lording it over the people, the big boss looking down on them. And so in the same way, a true leader is someone who is humble. And yes, they have a role that gives them additional power and influence, but they're just a fellow person and they're trying to do their best.
Now, Tony, you've trained thousands of people, and we know you've been in the DRC Congo.
Yeah.
You've been in Sudan, you've been in Rwanda,
Yes.
Uganda. Who are some of you, the leadership tricks that you can look at and say, this is good for me, as Tony, you know, this I would like in my leader?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say that there's any tricks per se. I think it's more about the person. And so, when you're, in fact, one of the exercises I'll sometimes do when I'm doing a training is I'll ask people to think of the best leader that they've ever had.
Yes.
It might be a teacher, it might be a manager, it might be a parent, you know, whichever.
Yes.
And then I'll say, what made them a great leader? And I'll have them do the same thing, what the worst leader.
Yes.
And we look at the difference. And it comes down to the personal characteristics.
Yeah.
A person of integrity, a visionary, a person who's committed, a person who's humble, they're the great leaders. You know, the arrogant person who's just out for himself, that lies and cheats, is corrupt, you know, they're the bad leaders. And so I wouldn't say it's so much any tricks, but it's about developing those characteristics in yourself. And the great thing is it doesn't just help you as a leader, it helps you as a person. It helps you to be a spiritual person.
Yeah.
It helps you to be a fulfilled person. It helps you to be a great mother, father.
Tony,
Yeah.
in the world, who are some of your role models in leadership,
Yes.
dead or alive?
Yes. I really love Obama. I think he's...
I love him too.
I think the whole of Africa is an Obama fan club.
We love him.
And what is so nice with him,
Yes.
he is humble. He is someone, you know, very down to earth.
Yes.
You saw him just before the inauguration painting walls in a small NGO. When he graduated from an Ivy League school, as a top lawyer, he could have been earning $100,000, $200,000 a year. Instead, he took a job paying less than $1,000 a month to work with the community to make a difference. So he's someone I really look up to.
Yeah.
People like Nelson Mandela, people, as I say, like Gandhi and Jesus, Martin Luther King.
Gandhi?
And Gandhi was such an amazing person who gave us such a wonderful example of living a full life, a life of contribution, a life of commitment, a life of devotion. He was someone who was totally committed to personal development. When he died,
Yes.
all he had were the clothes that he was wearing,
Yeah.
his glasses, some sandals, and that was basically it.
So giving up all that,
Yeah,
he could have had a lot.
he could have had an enormous amount. He also was a lawyer. He could have been very successful. But the thing is, he was passionate to serve other people. He had a saying that to have for yourself that which the masses do not have for themselves is theft. Now that's a pretty high, standard, but he really believed that and he followed it. And he was an incredibly fulfilled person, a very spiritual person. He was respected and adored by.
Tony, on a more realistic, because now you talk about that, Mr. Gandhi,
Uh-huh.
and my heart is warmed up.
Yes.
To know that you're able to give up the Mercedeses, the Rolls Royces, whatever comes
Yes.
with leadership, in people who have leadership position, and see the less privileged.
Yeah.
See work to help them.
Yes.
Can we achieve it in today's capitalist world?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, look, the key is the key is not so much does he have a nice car, does he have a nice house. The key is does he do everything he can to help those who don't have. And so, you know, I'm happy for a president to live in a beautiful state house, but but come down to the people. Sit with the people, have your focus with the people.
Because they've entrusted you to that position.
That's right. And this also, it doesn't just apply to the president. If you're studying development studies at Macquarie University, don't leave the university as a graduate thinking, now I've got it made, I'm the big guy, and you walk back to your village and you expect people to, you know, almost bow down to you. No, what you have done is you have gained the trust and the support of other people, and only that has enabled you to study at Macquarie University.
That's wonderful.
And then pay that back. Yeah.
We'll now take a break. We will be right back. Please do not go away. This is the Sinan Talk Show. My name is Faridah. We're talking about leadership, they trustees to the people, and what it means to each one of us. To the leaders, once they take on that responsibility and then they're entrusted by the people to lead them. What does it mean to them? What does it mean for the people that they have to lead? We are really honored and privileged to have Tony Lenart. He's an international man, and he's one of the trainers in the Advanced Leadership Center here attached to MUBS. But there's some amazing philosophy of yours that I'd like to read for others. This is a brief introduction to Tony Lenart. He gives this out whenever he meets people. He gave this to me, and he says that since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed.
Yes.
What does this mean to you?
Yeah, that's actually a preamble from the UNESCO Charter. And what it's saying is that wars don't just start of themselves. They start from a way of thinking. In fact, a lot of wars are not even started from greed. That certainly is a component. But many of them are started from this place, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm good, you're bad. And once you believe that, then you can justify wars against all of these other people. Yeah. And if instead you can actually put yourself in the shoes of another person, and incidentally, that's at the core of most of the religious teachings as well. But we tend not to do that. And so an American will automatically judge, you know, Iraqi people or whatever, or Muslims, or, you know, whichever it is.
That we have.
That's right. Yeah. And white people might judge black people might judge white people. Yeah. The thing is, we need to put ourselves in the shoes of other people to see things from their viewpoints. And if we can do that, then the type of thinking occurs where wars are significantly less likely to happen. The other sort of thinking is a win-lose or a win-win type of thinking. Capitalism, on which, you know, all of the economy of the world is built, is based on win-win. You provide a fantastic talk show, television stations, you know, buy the talk show, advertisers then want to advertise with the talk show, viewers pay for subscription to cable TV and get a great program. Everyone is winning. That's what capitalism is about. And yet sometimes, instead of thinking that way, we focus on win-lose. In order for me to win, you have to lose. And that's what causes wars, that's what causes corruption, that causes bad leadership, it causes so many of the problems that we see here.
Now you see what other people had to say about amazing Tony Lenart.
Thank you.
Tony Lenart has got a lot of things to give to Ugandans. He's a man who can tell you a lot of good experience. And therefore, I enjoy going to his lectures.
If you were talking about the GDP per person, if I live by myself and I earn, let's say, $30,000, then the GDP per capita is $30,000. If I have 10 kids and I'm still the only one earning money, then obviously the GDP is going to be a lot less. Then when I die, I'm going to take my 10 acres and I'll divide it up and there'll only be 1 acre left per person.
Tony is doing a good job and I want him to go on. I encourage him. When you follow what he says, when you follow his examples, he gives from here, from there, he is widely traveled, he is widely read.
But if you look at, say, business, is business about win-lose, or is it about win-win? Win-win. If I sell bottled water, the idea is I sell it to you, you win because you get...
I gain.
Yeah.
I get something.
Exactly. And I also win.
Because you earn.
Exactly, that's right. So the whole idea of business is win-win. But for some reason, we automatically slip back to win-lose when it comes to a conflict situation, to problems with other people, whether it's on a world scene or with our wife, or our children, or whatever. Okay? Now the problem, of course, is it's not always so easy. So now, can you hold up your hand? Okay. So.
I resist.
Okay. Automatically you resist, and did you notice that the harder...
I push, the harder I resist.
Exactly. And it's kind of exquisite, because I put 2 kilograms of force, you put 2 kilograms. I put 6, you put 6. I put 10.451, you put 10.451. Yeah? So it's exactly the same amount of force that comes back. So what happens then when Palestine is fighting against Israel? The harder that Israel responds to Palestine,
The harder they try.
that Palestine responds, yeah. And so you have this vicious cycle that gets worse and worse, because Palestine strikes Israel, Israel strikes Palestine, Palestine strikes again, and so you have this whole situation that's not working. It's actually, there's a scientific law that talks about this force. Do you know what that is?
Equal opposite force.
Yeah, Newton's third law, to every force, there's an equal and an opposite force. So if we think that we can just overpower other people, we're kind of ignoring this rule of nature. And there's also a Christian term for it. But, do you know what that is in Christianity?
No.
As you sow, so also will you reap. And
That's right.
Yeah.
He is widely traveled, he is widely read, therefore he has got a lot of examples he can give which are relevant in many situations.
This is the Sinan Talk Show. My name is Faridah. We're talking about leadership, they trustees to the people, and what it means to each one of us. To the leaders, once they take on that responsibility and then they're entrusted by the people to lead them. What does it mean to them? What does it mean for the people that they have to lead? We are really honored and privileged to have Tony Lenart. He's an international man. Thank you for coming. But then I would like to ask you, what are some of the human values that others can learn from you?
One of the things that's very important for me is to really develop myself and to focus on personal development. If you don't develop yourself, you're unlikely to be able to help others. And so, love and happiness, contribution are very key values for me. But at the same time, I don't want people to think that they're necessarily values just of sacrifice. These are actually values that help you as an individual. So if one actually looks, what do we want in life?
Yeah.
Well, we all want to be happy. So then you ask, what makes people the happiest in the long term? And you realize it's actually being loving. Or whether you're a parent and that gives you a level of fulfillment, whether it's being a great leader, whether it's in a religious organization, whatever it is, the more that you serve others, the more fulfilled you feel.
I feel wonderful seated here with you, Tony, and this is because you're a giver. I like meeting people like you. I mean, he's all the way from Australia. What inspired you to come here, meet rebels? Why?
Yeah, well, I was earning about $250,000 a year in Australia.
Wow.
I gave that up to come here, and because it's my
$250,000.
Yes, yes, and because it's my own NGO, I wasn't even paid, and in fact, not only was I a volunteer, but I was literally paying to be here. I was making enormous sacrifices to do it. But I didn't see it as a sacrifice. You know, having already identified that happiness is the most important and that love is what gives one the greatest degree of happiness, then, you know, it's just being wisely selfish to look for an opportunity where you can serve.
We always say, give and you shall receive.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so, you know, I have more opportunity to be of service in Africa than in Australia. And the impact of training leaders here can really transform. But I do want to make that point. It's not just that I'm selfish, it's that I hope I'm wisely selfish. You know, I'm looking, what does give me the most fulfillment?
Yes.
And it's true, being here is so much more fulfilling. It's so much more enjoyment. You live a full life when you're saying, well, how do I contribute and how do I make that difference? I'm getting less money, but I'm getting more other rewards now.
Amazing, amazing.